I guess the main idea or the main goal about freelancing is that you have ideally an endless amount of people asking to work with you, and you can pick the best. And really the point of freelancing is that you get to experience a lot more human connections with people. I at least enjoy talking to people, so for me it's really the kind of the perfect match.
Hey Arno, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing there?
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Yeah, I am doing great, and I was watching your YouTube videos where you give me graphic designing suggestion, and it helped me a lot. And thank you so much for that.
Well, I mean, that's great. What kind of videos were you watching?
So I was watching your videos of like I am personally struggling with getting success over Upwork, and your videos is helping me over there. Plus, your videos is also helping me to learn the basic concept of graphic designing.
Wow, really? I mean, Upwork is a huge, really massive company, right? And I think they're trying to help a lot of people with their services, and sometimes it can be a bit complicated, right? How did that help you, and how's Upwork going for you right now?
So right now, I just tried Upwork for a while, and I only got one project till now. And my focus is more on Fiverr than Upwork, which will be I will be like talking about it more further
Hmm.
in our conversation. And
Yeah.
before we actually start with our conversation, I just want people watching this video to follow Arnav, because his YouTube channel is full of graphic designing, and he also shares how to get started with graphic designing freelancing. He also works with some great companies, and more than me, I want him to like introduce himself to my guest. So Arnav, can you tell me more about your success as a freelancer, and how and
Yeah,
when did you
absolutely.
start?
For sure. So, for those of you who don't know me, hello, nice to meet you guys. My name is Arnau Ross, and as Shiv said, I am a freelance designer. I started out on Upwork, just like probably a lot of people, and now I'm completely off Upwork. I haven't been on Upwork in a while, and mainly the work that I do now revolves around branding mainly, and also UI UX. So developing design systems for the computer, for the phone, for the browser, things like that, right? And yeah, my start in freelancing was very slow. I started, I think, when I was around like 16, 15, 14, something like that. I totally wasn't allowed to be on Upwork or anything like that, but I just did it anyways because they didn't really check, right? So I started doing really cheap branding projects. I started doing entire branding systems like letterheads, envelopes, business cards, logo, like everything for like $50, $40, $30, right? And yeah, thankfully I'm not doing that anymore, and I've kind of grown a little bit and I've passed that level now. But yeah, I started out really, really small, just like anyone would, really.
Oh, so you basically started with Upwork for the first time as a freelancer.
Well, not exactly. The very, very first paid design work that I did was for a family friend, for well, yeah, for a family friend, really, a friend of my brother. And that kind of snowballed things. I started really liking the idea of, obviously I was really young, so I was like, oh my God, I can do a logo for money. That's crazy. How do I do that? How do I do more of that? And then my brother recommended learning Photoshop really well and learning all these things, and it just kind of snowballed. And I developed a passion, and I really learned how to enjoy design and become a really good designer eventually.
Yeah, like in my case, I started as a freelancer on Fiverr, and
Hmm.
I started with $5 because Fiverr basically means five. So I started as
Yeah.
for working as a $5 freelancer, and from there I scaled
Hmm.
just like you.
Yeah, exactly. How's that going for you now? Are you completely off Fiverr, or are you still within?
So I am freelancing outside Fiverr, but Fiverr works great for me. And right now I am also like focusing on Upwork, and I got my first project few weeks back, and
Hmm.
yeah, I would like to
That's
learn
great.
more
That's
from you
great.
about Upwork.
Well, hopefully I'll make another video in about Upwork, and I might do actually, now that I see some people actually want to watch it. But yeah.
So for people who have no idea about like what is freelancing, Arno, can you just tell in brief like what is freelancing according to you, and why did you choose freelancing over choosing a corporate job?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, freelancing, really what it means is that I can choose what clients I have. I guess the main idea or the main goal about freelancing is that you have ideally an endless amount of people asking to work with you, and you can pick the best ones, and you can pick which ones you're most passionate about. Like maybe you want to work with Coca-Cola or whoever it is, right? And you prefer to work for them instead of the other company or Pepsi or whoever it is. Well, then you can choose to do that. And the benefit of that is that you get a lot of mental freedom. You can allow yourself to relax when it comes to the work you're doing, because it's more diverse. You're not always working on the same exact landing page or the same project over and over and over if you are in an in-house developer or in-house designer. And really the point of freelancing is that you get to experience a lot more human connections with people. I at least enjoy talking to people a lot. I enjoy just hearing their side of things. I like negotiating with clients. It's all just a world that I think encompasses me perfectly, because I like dealing with business and I like talking to people, and I also like designing, so for me it's really the kind of the perfect match. And I've been able to have a lot of freedom in that. And I work remote now, and I'm completely remote, and I can work from anywhere I want, which is just great. So that's another benefit, definitely.
So like how do you like find clients for your freelancing?
hmm Well, about a year or two ago, I was kind of stuck with freelancing, and I was just doing some medium to low scale jobs. And I bought into this course, or I purchased Rand Segal's six-figure freelancer course. I actually did a review on it. And what it really taught me was having a good freelance profile means that clients come to you, right? And that's one of the first things that I learned from this course. And I realized I didn't have that. And I was always reaching out to clients, and I was always saying, hey, your logo sucks, let me do better. And obviously, if you approach it like that, no one's going to listen to you. And gladly, one of the things that this course taught me was that having an avenue like Instagram or, oh, sorry, having an avenue like Instagram or YouTube allowed you to be exposed to new people and have clients kind of come to you, really. And that's mainly how I've found my past clients in the past year. It's just been people coming to me and approaching me and asking what I charge for services and how can they get in contact with me. And so having this YouTube channel allowed me to open myself up to the broader audience, really. And that's, I think, what people really should do. And I'm a bit at fault here. I don't really have an Instagram.
Yeah, yeah.
I have the account, but I just don't post. And so that's still something I'm trying to figure out, because I want to do it well before I just start like posting and posting. So yeah, just definitely having good social media presence allowed me to be discovered.
So I think you are much active on mail than Instagram, on Twitter.
On Twitter as well, yeah, I just started up my Twitter, and I'm trying to find what I should tweet about, because I don't really know yet, and I don't want to just post like shit, and have nothing to really tweet about. So I'm just trying to post something that will benefit others that read it, and maybe just snippets of my mind that I find valuable and that others might find valuable in freelancing and design and whatever it is, right? So yeah.
So like I was like going through your videos, and one of the video like helped me to gain some insight like how important it is to build your portfolio before you approach your client, because anyway your client will ask for some samples, and you can like
Yeah.
redirect them to arnav.design, which a portfolio you built for yourself. And
Exactly.
you spoke about some website like where you said how a beginner can create their portfolio and their invoice. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, there's a lot of websites that help you build fake projects or fake clients. And off the top of my head, I don't really remember what they are, because I haven't used them in a while. But there's I think if you look up like fakebriefs.com or fakebriefs dot whatever, you'll find these sort of websites, and it'll give you a brief like, okay, the client is a construction company and they deal with bathtubs mainly, or they deal with saunas, or they deal with whatever. Make a logo that represents their values. Make a design system that represents their website, whatever it is, right? And these kind of websites allow you to really explore what it is to be a freelancer and have all these different projects without actually having any real clients or projects or leads, right? And that's kind of the benefit, because when you're starting out, you have nothing, essentially.
Yeah, I hope I have heard this advice before I started my freelancing, because I had to struggle a lot and create some samples on the spot
Yeah.
when I got started. And uh, I think when you just started freelancing, you struggled, and you used to like get burned out by some projects, and you also ended up in some projects which you then found out that you are not interested anymore, or it's uh, or the client is asking more works and it's not out of your scope. Like, how do you deal with the clients who like keeps on adding more things, and you eventually like have to say no to them? Like, how do you politely say no to them and move forward with that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, this is definitely something that a lot of beginner freelancers struggle with, and obviously it's not at fault, because there's no real like a notebook or guidebook on how to do these things, right? But that's kind of what I'm trying to build here, which is like the main way to deal with that is off the top, or off the right from the beginning. You want to have a very clear scope, and you want to have your iterations outlined, right? How many iterations are you going to do to this logo? Okay, is it 3? Okay, here's the price for 3 iterations, and if you want to do more, it's going to charge you more, or it's going to cost you more. And approaching it like that really lets clients know when you're starting and stopping, and lets you know, so it gives you a peace of mind, and you can kind of plan accordingly and have more clients like off the bat. And to do that, I use a software called Bonsai, which allows me to have a lot of contracts, and I can build like contracts super fast and just outline that and make it super clear in the scope that, listen, if you want to do more logos, then that's completely fine, right? I'm a designer, that's what I'm here for. But we can't just keep working like this, because it's not good for either of us, because no one sees an end here. So yeah, definitely. Do you struggle with that, do you think, a little bit?
Yeah, even I struggle at that, and like I was happy to like see one of your videos on that, and even I still have to watch more of your videos to learn more about it. There is so much to learn about.
I have a playlist, so go watch that playlist.
So
For sure.
so I just wanted to know, like, what are some of the skills, like other than technical skills, which is very important for a freelancer to have, which you then realized and like learned and worked upon.
Well, there's definitely a lot of, so I'd say there's hard skills and then there's soft skills, right?
Yeah.
Hard skills, you could class them as like being really good at drawing, being really good at writing. But then soft skills is like communication, planning, things like that, right? And I think with freelancing, it's 50% of both, right? Because it doesn't matter how good you are as a designer and how good you are at knowing the fundamentals of color or spacing or typography, if you can't communicate with someone and you can't explain your design decisions, right? A lot of being a freelancer is explaining to people who aren't revolved in the design world or the writing or freelance, whatever it is, that world, why this color makes sense for the logo, or this color or that typography. Because a lot of times what clients do is, by no fault of their own, they have preconceived notions of what they like, and like they see a billboard and like, oh, that's a cool typography, I want that for my brand. And they want the Louis Vuitton brand for a construction company, right? And then maybe it just doesn't really match and doesn't really fit, and it's your job as a freelancer to have the tool set to be able to explain to them that their ideas are wrong and they shouldn't have those ideas, obviously not, but yeah, a lot of the times I'd say it's communication, planning. You need to be able to know how long things are going to take, and that obviously comes with experience and time. Also, I would, yeah, definitely, I would say also goal orientation, because you can very easily fall into a trap of being at, say, for example, $50 for a logo, and then you stay there and you stay there for a year, and then you wonder why you're stuck and you can't progress, right? And it's important to have those goals to say, okay, at January 1st, I'm going to start charging $100 instead of 50, and always building up those goals, always having a clear mindset of what you want, really.
Yeah, even I noticed that I have to work over there.
Mm-hmm. In the freelance world and just design in general, people have goals, except they don't really push them enough because they fear that their clients are going to leave, or they're not going to be respected by their clients, and it's a real fear, right? Like, say, like, even one of the things is that working on something like Upwork or Fiverr doesn't really allow you to charge $50,000 for a logo, because why would you? When the competition is charging $20.
So like
Or what was the
I
last thing
want
we
you
said?
to like tell me more about like how do you deal with getting burned out as a freelancer?
Right. So burnout, I think, happens generally when you're in a position that you are working on projects that you don't really enjoy, right? I think, for me at least, obviously I'm still a young dude, but it's like, as long as I can remember, I've been working gladly and thankfully on projects that I'm passionate about and projects that I like. But very quickly, when I start working on something I don't like, even if it's like, hey, do these icons for me, right? I hate doing icons. Well, then it's like, oh, I hate doing this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this right now. And then that's how you very quickly start burning out, and you start kind of having those negative feelings with the work that you're doing and not really enjoying the time that you're spending on this project. And that's really the important thing. Do you experience any burnout at all in your work, or?
Yeah, like in my freelancing career, I was open to all field. Like you are like specialized in graphic designing, but in my case, I was doing somewhat graphic designing, doing somewhat video editing, doing book editing,
Mm-hmm.
ghost writing,
Yeah.
and so many things I was doing and experimenting. And in this process, I was getting burned out at some things which I didn't enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
but it was making me good amount of money.
Yeah, well then I guess it's about priority, right? It's if you're starving and you're in the middle of the street, I think doing a work that you don't enjoy, it doesn't really matter, because you need that money, right? And so I think allowing yourself to only work on projects that you enjoy is a privilege, and not a lot of people can have that, and it sucks. But if you can kind of focus on only the work that you enjoy doing, so say you're a specialist at logos, then try to only get clients that will respect that and won't ask you for a brochure or a book cover or whatever. Say, sorry, I only do logos. Like, I can't do anything else. Here's a really good designer that will do that for you, though. And if you can have that privilege and that freedom, then obviously, I suggest it, of course.
Yeah, and I also like wanted to know like you have mentioned to work with the startup or someone who is full time into their project and who hands you
Hmm.
over that project to freelance. So
Hmm.
can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that was a video where you heard that was a video on how to take your freelancing to the next level, right?
Yeah, exactly. Even I
There you
learned
go.
a lot from that.
Well, the key takeaway of that video is when you kind of step into the next level of freelancing, I've found that when I was starting out, it was always from it was always side projects, right? Whenever I was working on a project, it was the clients or the freelance clients' side project. It was never their main vocation. It was never their job. It was never the most important thing in their life, right? And when you kind of step into the full-time side of things, or full-time freelance, and having that as your main thing, it's always clients that this is the most important thing in their life. This project cannot fail. this logo needs to be fucking perfect because I'm spending $50,000 on this company or whatever it is, right? And this needs to be perfect. You can spend as much time as you want. You can spend as much, well, obviously, right? It's always the best clients I've found always have it as their priority. And the reason why that's so important is because they will treat you like a priority. If you are not the priority of the clients and of the project, I guess with some limitations, right? Like CEOs and whatever have other things to do and they have other things to take care of. But if you're just a side thought, it's like, oh yeah, I need to take care of that freelancer. I need to pay him $50 or whatever. It's a side thing, right? But if you, I guess I'm repeating myself here, but it's like if you go at it as trying to be the most important thing in a client's world as much as you can, then you'll be respected more. You'll be able to charge more. You'll have more freedom. It'll just be a better freelancing experience.
I also wanted to know, like, I think you are thinking of like having your own startup and company. So how do you like switch from being a freelancer and earning your first buck, and from there, how do you like eventually switch to having your own startup? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, by startup, what do you mean by startup?
Like your own agency or company?
Yeah, well, I think the only reason why I would ever have my own agency is if we're talking about scale, right? Is it's if I have so many clients coming to me and the budgets are so large, then I can afford to hire other designers to help me. And that eventually snowballs into what becomes an agency, right? Because as a freelancer, you can obviously just hire other people and it's fine. But I think one of the benefits of having an agency is that sort of esteem and prestigiousness of being this big company with a lot of awards and all this stuff. And I think that's something that intrigues me, just the kind of power that you have, right? When you can ask for $50,000 for a logo and the client doesn't blink twice because they're used to it, right? And that's kind of the power when you are an agency. But it also comes with some drawbacks, right? Like having an agency, you need to take care of people. You need to be a good boss. You need to make sure that people get paid on time and worry about sick days and your employees leaving and all this shit that I don't really know enough about, and I don't know if I want to get into it, right? But that's just kind of where the uphill eventually goes, right? If I'm as a freelancer, I can be charging an X amount of money, but who knows? Maybe I'm okay with the money, and maybe because at the end of the day, I think that's all it is, really.
Yeah, just like you said, even like I was looking at the prestigious part of it, like having your own agency is a big thing, and that's why maybe I was focusing on doing that instead of like focusing on earning more money and scaling myself. That's a great answer that you gave. That agency should be like if some you will get some more budget clients and which you cannot handle and so much. That time it's better to like build your agency. Then from the start itself, we are focusing to build an agency.
Exactly. Well, that's kind of the point, right? It's like in some points, being a freelancer, being a one-man team or a one-woman team, it's so freeing, right? I can pick up my laptop and just go anywhere, go to the beach, and just work from there, right? Well, like whatever I want to do. And having an agency won't allow me to do that. I'll have more responsibilities. I'll need to take care of people. And although at the end of the day, it could mean more money, maybe that's not what I want. Maybe I prefer the freedom, and maybe I prefer like taking the day off and going with my girlfriend, right? Like whatever it is, like you need to value and see what's more important in your life. And I also just realized that another reason might be if you want to partner with someone, right? If you want to be a duo or a trio with your friends and you want to design together and get clients together, then it makes sense to have an agency, right? They're not all going to work under your freelance name because that's kind of weird. And maybe that's just how it works out. You know, I think it's different for everyone. Everyone has a different story. But you know, when I was starting out, when I was like 16 or something, the first thing I did was start my agency website, and for no reason, right? I didn't have any clients, I didn't have anything. I was like, okay, I want to start an agency. But then I quickly realized that having an agency actually means having to have clients and having to have really good negotiation skills and communication skills, which I had none of. And so then I was like, hey, maybe the next best thing is Upwork. And so then I signed up to Upwork, and then yeah, I learned from there, I guess.
Yeah, like this point is completely relatable to me. Even I
Hmm.
purchased some domain names to like build my agency, and I never used them. And even I realized
Yeah.
that when you don't have that many clients for agency, then why do you even like waste your time on building that? So as you are a graphic designer, I would like your tips for someone who is looking to start their career on graphic design.
Hmm. Definitely. Well, I think it depends. If the person would these tips be for someone that wants to be a freelance graphic designer or more of an in-house graphic designer?
Among my friends, most of them are like freelance graphic designers. So I want the tips to
Hmm.
be freelancing.
Okay. Well, then, if you're just starting out from zero, I definitely think getting your first few jobs, or well, before even getting any jobs, I think getting the basics, just the very, very, very basics, like what kind of fonts look good together, what kind of colors look good together, because a lot of people skip over that and they just want to go build websites and build really cool posters. But before you can go out and do a really big house, you need the foundation, right? You need to have that sturdy foundation where you know what looks good together and what doesn't, and why you shouldn't use yellow fonts against a white background. Like these are just basic things, but you should always just have these things in mind. And a lot of people skip that. And if we want to progress from there and become a more, I guess, stable designer, then definitely starting out small, because you don't want to start out big. And I'm saying this from experience, right? It's like if you start out at nothing, and then imagine the next client you get is like McDonald's or whoever it is, right? Then they're expecting a lot from you, and you can't deliver on what they're expecting because they're used to kind of working with so many big designers and clients, and agencies. And so I definitely would say, as hard as it is to do, take it slow, because you don't want to reach the big stage before you're ready, because you're going to get a slap in the face when the client says, this looks like shit, you can't design, you can't do this, you can't do that, and then you're just hurt and then you quit. So definitely take it slow. Start with some smaller projects. Start with money that may not mean too much to you in the beginning, but if you can allow yourself to start small and start slow and get the basics right, then it's what's gonna become more profitable for you if you get the basics as concrete as possible. And I mean that's how I started, right? So I think that's just my story and my history.
Yeah, and this not only applies to graphic designing, I think the suggestion you gave also applies to all other fields of freelancing because
Anything, yeah.
we should get our fundamentals right.
Exactly.
I would like to proceed with the enlightenment round, where I ask similar question to all
Okay.
my guests, and I think it would be
Hmm.
fun. You can shoot your short answers.
Okay.
Uh, what inspires you to do everything you do?
Well, definitely freedom. I think having a YouTube channel, the broader mindset. Wait, are these supposed to be really fast answers, or can I just
No, you
ramble?
can. Yeah, you can.
Okay, okay. Uh, the freedom, definitely. Having the YouTube channel, as I said, just allows me to have the bigger picture in mind, which is financial freedom. Maybe it's just basically financial freedom. And I think having the goal of being financially free might not be the best goal to have. But apart from that, it's also, I want to become the best designer I can be. And I want to fill in the gaps of what YouTube design is, because I feel like there's a lot missing and a lot of people overcomplicate things. So one of my goals is to really simplify as much as I can in freelancing and design, and have other people learn from my mistakes and my experience, and really be able to become better designers themselves, right? I think that's the end goal here, right? It's to become just to help people and just to become a good
Better
helper, I
version of
think.
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who are the people you look up to?
The people I look up to, I would say specific people is, for YouTube would be Rantigal, definitely, because it was his course and his channel that inspired me to create my own. In terms of designers, I don't really aspire to too many. I think copying or aspiring too closely to anyone just leads to imitation, and I don't think that's that good when you want to develop your own style. You know, you're still starting out, so it's best to, for me at least, to kind of stay apart from that. But I think it's a hard question, because I wouldn't say I have any like hero, right, or any traditional I want to be that guy. But I think just anybody who helps people and gets respected in their field when they do so, right? Like Rand Segal, for example, that's a good example. And yeah, just anyone who helps people a lot, I think is my answer to that one.
So do you read books apart from courses?
Some books, yes. I don't really finish too many books, unfortunately. I think I have one of those minds where it's impossible to finish an entire book, and I get bored and I want to move on. And I think a lot of people agree to that and can relate.
Yeah, even like
But
I
I
struggle
definitely,
to finish books and I just skim over that.
mhm. Yeah. I mean, I think Warren Buffett said that he never finishes a single book. He just skims to the important parts and gets what he wants to get out of a book. You know, there's no prize for finishing a book, um, which maybe is the bad advice here. But I definitely prefer courses and digital media to that. I prefer learning online, and I think obviously my channel is a testament to that. But learning from courses allows me to self-pace myself. I can really dig deep and try to learn a new skill and do it well. You know, I think that maybe I can do that a little bit faster if I'm learning digitally as well.
Yeah, and also I agree to that point, and even I personally recently started taking subscription of apps like Blinkist, which summarizes
Mm,
a book into 12 minutes, and I think that
yeah.
is more time saving, and it also gives me a overall idea of a complete book instead of finishing a 200 400 pages book.
Yeah. Yeah, I had Blinkist before, but I think the reason why I got rid of it was I was I read a Blinkist and then I read the actual book, and there was a lot of stuff missing.
Yeah,
And
that's the thing.
yeah, so that's the only thing. And you also don't really retain the information as well, definitely, when you just read the Blinkist, because you can read 12 of them in a day, so it's just you can't really retain all the information, right?
Adding to that, I have thought that uh, I think you have heard of mind maps,
Yeah.
like designing on computer mind maps. That it is
Hmm.
easier to like retain information. So after I read a Blinkist complete 12-minute book, I will try to put that ideas in the form of mind maps, and then I will look at that entire map and I will just summarize like what I got out of this book and how I can like implement this in my life.
Mm. That's actually a really good advice. That's actually really good.
So that's how I started doing, and I will like eventually start posting these kind of videos on my channel as well.
Mm. Yeah, that'd be good. People can kind of learn from that, right?
Yeah. And
Hmm.
if like you want to, what are your favorite quotes that you have heard of?
So I think one of my favorite quotes, which my mom actually said, funnily enough, which I think about nearly every single day, which is it's a saying in my language, which is Catalan, and it's hard to explain it in English, but it's basically the idea that you already have the no, So whenever you want to go ask a question, you already have the no as an answer. So go get the yes, right? You already have the no. It's out there in the world. The default is no. So go out there and get the yes because you're not losing anything at the end of the day, right? So that's not really a quote because in Catalan it is a quote. It's kind of small,
Yeah, so I
but yeah, in
think
English.
a few hours ago, like I have saw a similar quote which you just said,
Mhm,
by one of the influencer person who is called as Raj Shamani. So he said that
mhm.
whether you are destined to be great or not great,
Yeah,
you can like choose to be great yourself,
exactly.
like
Hmm.
instead of leaving it to your fate.
Exactly. Yeah, the default is always no, right? Okay, am I gonna have a good day? Probably not. Am I actively trying to make myself have a good day? Then yes, definitely. So it's always just about switching the mindset. And whenever you go reach for something that may not be attainable, then just like today, I just from my podcast, right? Today I messaged someone that I didn't think would want to be on my podcast because it's still small and relatively small, but I asked her, "Hey, would you want to be in the podcast?" Blah 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 blah, and she's like, "Yeah, for sure, let's do it." So it's the idea that you already have the answer to be no. So like, what do you have to lose? Just go ask. Who cares? If you get rejected, then who cares? There's another one down the street. So yeah, it's that mindset. It's really powerful. At least for me, yeah.
Even when I started, I never believed that some highly influential people will come to my podcast until like I
Mhm.
actually started asking them. Most people, I think, will step back from even asking.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of people are scared of. I'd say even a rejection, right? It's a lot of people are scared of being humiliated, and this thought of, oh no, what's this stranger gonna think of me, and he's gonna think I'm a loser because I asked him. But at the end of the day, like, if I can say the words "fuck it," who cares? This is a stranger on the internet. At the end of the day, no one really cares. So go ahead, ask whoever you want to be on your podcast. At the end of the day.
Yeah. So coming to the next question, like, what are some of the apps that you suggest to increase your productivity?
Some of the apps, wow. Let me check my phone here. I've got a couple. Okay, so one of the apps I definitely recommend that I have on my phone is Notion. I use Notion for absolutely everything, all my organization skills. I made a video on Notion for designers actually, and the I think the most important thing about Notion is that I can link pages and I can have a database if I want to, right? And having something like Notion where I can just have it on my phone and take it anywhere with me is incredibly powerful, especially with design systems. I do a lot of client design systems on Notion just so I can have it organized and easily shareable. And within my personal life as well, I have all my journaling on Notion. I've got my personal life goals. I've got my professional life goals. All my YouTube is all on Notion. I've got like just 100 little pages for Notion. And if I was going to recommend anything, it'd definitely be Notion because it'll change your life if you use it correctly and if you use it consistently. Do you use Notion at all? Or
Yeah, I recently started using Notion and it made a big difference in my life. Like I used to
yeah.
lose all the courses and all the things that they used to tell me. And
Hmm.
right now I am like organizing everything in Notion, like what this person have suggested in his course, and I will like look
Hmm.
back into that, and it really helps me to carry everything in my
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah. Well, even like having your podcast organized by Notion and having, okay, who's this guest? What day is he coming on the show? What is his website? What is his main social media? What is his favorite color? Like whatever it is, right? You it's easy to remember things about your guests, and even for Blinkist, if you want to just write like a brief review of what you learned and what you read, and kind of moving that over to Notion, you have an organized space where it's easily accessible. You can always look back to it. You never really lose it, right? So that's definitely a benefit.
Yeah, that's a like great idea. I never thought about like using it for my podcast, and like apart from that, for my personal life, like I have a book. I am a old school kind of guy where I will write everything in a creative manner. Like I'm very creative inside my book. Like what I have goals for, let's say
Yeah.
2021, all those stuff.
Well, listen, what's going to happen to you if you lose the book, or if the book gets wet, or if the book gets set on fire, right?
Yeah,
You know,
that's a scary thing.
you're going to jump out a window, keep it on Notion.
Yeah, I think I will take a like full photocopy of my book and then I will keep it on Notion.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Notion's really powerful, man.
So Arnav, let's say you start from complete scratch and now you know all the kind of mistakes that you have made in your freelancing career, and like how will you approach your career in a different way if you had to start from scratch?
If I had to start from scratch, I think that's a tricky question, because what I did, all my mistakes and all the things I did by mistake led me to where I am now, right? And the failures of not creating good relationships with clients in the beginning, and being a bad communicator and whatever, led to me kind of struggling and being like, oh, I want clients to come to me. How can I do this? And then I bought the course and I made YouTube videos, and then blah, 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 right? So it's hard, because kind of your failures lead to your success in a way, which is kind of weird to think about it. But yeah, if I had to say one thing to answer your question, I'm really thinking about this here, because I don't want to give any bullshit answer. I want to give a good answer.
An honest answer, yeah.
I think an answer that I could give that would help people is to not be afraid to ask for help, and to, if you want to reach out to a better, bigger designer, and you look up to his work or her work, and you want to learn and you want to just speak to them, then do it. I think people are a lot more likely, which is what we were talking about before. People are a lot more likely to talk to you than you think. Like at the end of the day, everybody's just people. So why not? Just, you already have the know. Go talk to them. Go see. Try to learn under them. Like maybe you can have an internship. Just go and talk to people you admire, and maybe it'll help you.
Yeah, coming to that same point, like people watching this, how can they get in touch with you?
How can you get in touch with me? You can, first of all, head over to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/ArnauRoss, ARNAUROS. You can also go over to my Instagram or any of my social media, which is Arnau_design, or you can send me an email at hello@arnau.design. So there's 3 ways for you, and yeah.
Yeah, I will link them all in the description, and so I want to ask you a last question. So let's say that you are given a big stage, all of a sudden, like you got a call that tomorrow you are going to give a speech in a big stage, which is the biggest stage in the humanity, and people from all over the world will gather there, and these will be like people from all kind of background, and they are there very curious to listen what Arnav has to say, and you are given 1 minute to share your message to them. What would you like to share to them?
What would I like to share to everybody? Let's see. Again, I think that's something I need to think about. It would definitely be, I think it'd probably be close to the answer that I gave you for, if I had to change one thing in the beginning, it'd be to I think, ask for help, and if you need it, and to talk to others. And I think at the end of the day, everybody's just another person, right? Everybody's just someone. So I think I have this theory where I think 99% of all conflict comes from miscommunication and bad communication. So maybe just communicate with people and just be a human being to one another, if I can go that deep. And yeah. What about you? What would you say?
Wow,
exactly, yeah. Flip the tables here.
So I never thought about this, and I didn't even expect to answer this over here, and uh, I would like to, like, for the rest of my life, I want to like spend my life inspiring others, and I want
Hmm.
them to follow their passion no matter what, whether it pays you or not, because at the
Hmm.
end I think what makes you happy, if you are able to monetize that and make a living around that, that would be much better than working at a 9 to 5 job. Because right now I'm in a kind of situation where most of my friends are in final year, even I am in my final year of my engineering, and I chose a
Hmm.
path like not to do that and follow my passion, which is freelancing, which most of my friends are afraid to do, but they want to do it. So I
Hmm.
would like to tell them to live their life on their own terms.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a powerful one, you know, definitely.